going on, amigos? Welcome to the first look of the Element Enduro Sport Edition. Look at that. Pretty rad. So walking around the body looks like the Element Enduro. Looks pretty rad. We see some new features here. We'll go over those in a second. But let's talk about this body. So this body is awesome. It's a lot thicker than most stock RTR bodies. I don't know how many mils thick this is. I mean, it is very rigid and very substantial. I love these. I love the two-tone. So one thing that's really awesome is that it adds, there's no texture, but it adds texture like looking at the two-tone of this. So this is like a gloss smooth finish, and this is a nice matte finish. Just gives it a little added depth. You see a drop-down bed. That's always cool. Nice molded bumpers. These bumpers are they're pretty rigid, but I don't feel like they're gonna break. They're not like brittle rigid, which is nice. They'll help you slide off those rocks really well. Clear windows. That's something that's awesome that you don't see in RTRs very often anymore. You see a lot of stickers over the windows, that kind of thing. I'm sure there's going to be some things that come out for this that are 3D printed. New wheels. These new steely-like wheels look awesome. Tires are different. So this, someone might ask, well, what's the difference? It looks like a normal Enduro with different wheels. There's a lot more than meets the eye. And just wait till we talk about price and budget. This thing is awesome. It comes with a bunch of stickers. Let me grab the sticker sheet here real quick. The sticker sheet is super rad. Bunch of cool, funny stickers, all kinds of fun stuff on there. Love the Washington State plates on here. All that kind of stuff. Really fun. We have where was it? There was some other stickers on here that I thought were really awesome, really funny. The censored sticker. We have, for those that don't know, as I flip this around, those that don't know Die Hard RC. So the cool thing is that's a local track out here in Washington. Those people are super rad, but they also did a kind of throwback to the Nakatomi Towers there from Die Hard the movie. Super cool. This is the new manual. Nice colors on it. But one thing, that there are little details that I don't think people really always see and find, but now this detail is that this is all color, which is really cool. So it's, even though it's monochromatic because you're looking at something plastic, it's all color, which is super rad. And I don't know if you saw some things when I just passed over it, but something new. Look at that. We'll get to that in a minute. So axles there's a lot of things in here that have been redone. So let's check it out. Let's get underneath the hood of the Enduro Sport Edition. Okay, so before we get too deep into some of these new features that this Enduro SE has, let's talk about who this is geared towards. Is this geared directly towards the expert builder, comp person? I don't think so. However, this is a way more, to me, I'm a builder and I like to start with the builder's kit and go from there. The price point on this is awesome. One of the things that we see in RC right now is the price point. It keeps on rising and rising and rising, and it makes it difficult to have a full family go out and have fun. Let me answer the big question, the $1 million question, if you will. How much is it, right? So what Element's trying to do is they're trying to make so much fun for everyone, so much bang for your buck. This vehicle's almost, it's not quite, but it's almost the cost of 2 for 1. They're retailing this one at $299 for street, and that is RTR. All you need are the batteries for this. It comes with a new radio. We'll get to that in a second. It's a 4-channel radio. It's awesome, but there is a lot of new stuff packed into this new Enduro. So we talked about this thick body. Let's see if I can flip it upside down. You can't really get a gauge for how thick it is, but it is much more rigid. than most bodies that come RTR. The thing that I like about that is like these parts here are going to be much more forgiving. They're not going to just, you know, cut and tear away. Very cool how thick that body is. Love the color. It's a very warm gray. So, cat's out of the bag. There's a bunch here, and we'll go over it. So, first off, one of the cool things we see here, we got inner fenders, RTR inner fenders on the front. Not sure if they fit, if you can swap them over to the back. I don't think so yet, but I'm sure there's going to be some kind of 3D printed thing that we can find that we can do that or make our own. People always come out with stuff like that. Another huge new thing here is the new Stealth XF transmission. This transmission, it's a whole new configuration, which is awesome. So instead of opening up like this, like the old one used to, you can actually take the whole top shell off and have it all access to it while leaving the base plate in the rig itself. That also allows for the motor to be more centrally located and more forward, so to help with weight bias. The battery is mounted behind the transmission. I'm going to give it a go first. I think, you know, it feels really well balanced. It feels balanced. I don't know if I would say 60-40, but it's pretty close to that in the centers, which is really cool. We've got new shocks. We've got the SC480X crawler ESC. This is pretty new too. This is new too that I haven't seen on it before, which is kind of a neat platform for the ESC, and it gives these extensions here so that you can plug in auxiliary lights, rock lights, possibly a winch. I'm not sure exactly how the channels work. These might just be hot for like lights, so we'll see about that, but I know that there's a 4-channel radio in here. We'll get to that in a second. Let's walk around. Let's start from the front to the back. So on the front of this vehicle, we'll see, let's see here, we got a new bumper with a built-in fairlead, which is awesome. This bumper is pretty rigid, hard enough that it'll slide over the rocks, but not too brittle, it doesn't feel like. We got the new 2-piece axle, which is super awesome. The 2-piece axle seems like it's going to be, it's a lot more accessible. So now we have these 2 screws here that we can unbolt and get to the ring and pinion. We have new splined C-hubs that we can adjust. We have, let's see here, we have rotors, scale rotors and brakes on the inside. We have steel universals, and look at this. Out of the box, we have a servo on axle. One of the things that I think is really cool that Element does that people might not see all the time or notice, I don't know if you can hear that, but that is a metal servo horn. It's not a plastic servo horn. So this servo horn is going to last you a long time. The servo on axle is awesome. The bar, the steering link has a hole in it that you can stick a drive in. That way you can adjust your steering from there also. It also has, and it's probably better to show in the rear, so we'll get to that in the rear. It still comes with the servo tray up front, so you can mount winches or whatnot up here. The shock tower mounts are they're new, they're a little different, so they're more of a solid shock tower mount, which is awesome, and we'll get some close-ups of that in a little bit. But these shock tower mounts being solid is going to make it a lot more rigid. What else do we have here? So we talked about the battery in the back, so there's a new cross member that goes over where the battery goes. We also have this fuel cell that I'm assuming you can put weight in it or whatnot. It can open. So the cool thing also that it comes with is it comes with this. It comes with the shock tower that has the steering, the drag or the pitman arm mount to it. So if you wanted to switch out to normal chassis mounted servo, you could put that up front. So another thing that's on the underside here, we have some geometry changes, and we also have some different colors of plastic, which is nice. I like having different colors because it gives a little contrast. One of the things it also has that's different are these new links. So The links are very firm, and the way they're built, the way they're designed with these ribs are for reinforcement, I believe. I don't know for sure what the intent was, but as a person that builds things, those ribs definitely give reinforcement and strength for sliding over the rocks, being under load. Having these plastic links will also be a little more forgiving under load. So if you bind up really bad, you're going to have a little bit more flex so that you're not actually like breaking a tooth in your ring and pinion or anything like that. We still have the awesome, what are these called? The sliders that have the body key into it. So the shocks, let's talk about the shocks real quick. The shocks are pretty awesome. So these are pen style shocks. They have a bleeder screw up top, which is great. That's something, just something that you can use to dial in. These shocks now, I talked about the geometry being a little different. So the shocks are mounted to the outside of the link on the rear and in the typical Heims point in the front. So that's a different change that I've seen. I'm sure it helps with roll center a little bit, getting that, or not roll center, but for getting the rear end kind of squat a little bit better when you're going up so it won't unload. The other thing we have in here, we have Olight bushings. So let's talk about Olight bushings. Now, we talked about this being a vehicle that's targeted at, I would say this is targeted at the new person getting into the RTR, but it's also targeted at the experienced person that wants to get into the platform and then add to it at a price point that you can really do some cool stuff with. So you're getting all the other, all the new components. And if you want to do high clearance links, you can. If you want to do brass links, you can. If you, want to change out your wheels, change out your shocks. These shocks, everyone knows associated shocks are awesome. But let's get back to the Olight bushing. So out here in the Pacific Northwest, we crawl all year round. We crawl outside a lot. We crawl in mud. We crawl in rain and water and snow and in the hot stuff, right? So what people don't know is that the solid bushing is actually going to last longer than a roller bearing. Being because the roller bearing, if you're going in all those elements and you're not taking your car apart and oiling it down and cleaning it off, which I'm guilty, never do that. I put my cars away and then I bring them out and they have, mud caked all over them. I rarely clean them. If you're not doing that maintenance on it, guess what? You're going to get rust in your bearings, and the rust in your bearings are going to lead them to deteriorate and to fail. So the Olight bushings will last longer. They actually don't have too much of a difference when it comes to drag. When it's actually, the smoothness of it, you can't really tell a whole lot. I would say I'm going to run it for a while and see what happens. You guys know me. We go on long hikes, 10 miles, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to run it and see how long I can see if anywhere. I'll pull them apart and show you before and after. But I can tell you that my bearings, what happens a lot is I lose this bearing right here. And this bearing will fall apart and then I might chip a tooth inside here. So, and that's just on me. That's because I don't take anything apart. If you look real quick at these axles, one thing I want to comment about also is that they have a little more webbing added to them. I'm assuming that's for strength. And what's cool about this is that it's not just another enduro. It's not just another other vehicle name or whatever. That's the same guts in a different body, a different livery. It's actually a lot of new components in here, and I'm sure I've probably missed a handful of them, and I'm gonna kind of take a look at my notes and see what I did miss. But what's cool is that it's all here. We talked about the tires a little bit. Brand new tire. It's an Element tire. It's called Pin Seeker. It's a 4.7, 1.35 wide. Goes on a 1.9 wheel. Very cool. I'm excited to get those in the mud and the rocks. They look really good. So What's some other new things? So there's extra holes that were added to the chassis to support 11.4 and a 12.8 wheelbase. So you can move the shocks around and get more options. So with these new pen style shocks, here's some cool stuff. So it's got the bleeder cap. They're the same length as the older version Enduro platforms. And what's cool is it actually comes with collars, so you can switch and the I forgot what the cup, I guess is what you would call it. So you can actually convert it over to the more traditional spring, the stock factory team springs, which is really cool. So the new radio is a Fly Sky radio. It's got a flip top. One of the things that's cool about the flip top, this is something that I think most people overlook, is that a flip top thing, all your settings are up here, right? So they're all, a lot of times they're dials and all that kind of stuff. Well, if I'm hiking and sometimes I get to a section of trail where maybe it just makes more sense for me to put the truck on my backpack, I can throw this in my backpack, turn it off, and none of my buttons get pushed. No settings are changed, no dials are moved. That's something that's really cool about this. So this Fly Sky also has a 4-channel receiver in here. I haven't opened that up yet, but we will see that in another video. Cool thing, it's the little things to me that count, you know, the hook for your lanyard. So you got channel 4 here. Channel 3 is a three position switch. My assumption is that you could use that with a servo winch or scale winch. It takes 4 AA batteries that you will have to supply for yourself. It's a nice receiver. It's a little long. My hands are big, so it's a little long to do the thumb driving. However, I'm sure you can print a conversion so you can get a little thumbstick on there. Feels good. Feels pretty, you know, the carbon fiber-esque feel to it. It's a little slick maybe, but you know, I'm gonna have to give it a run, but it feels good. I like the options. One of the things that are neat about this one is that it's a push button versus dials, so you're even less having issues of moving the dials. Same thing as before: throttle reverse, steering reverse, bind, dual rate, trim, throttle trim, steering trim, and power. So very cool.